I'm Lisa, and I'm the mom half of this duo.
And I'm Shada. I'm Lisa's daughter. And welcome to Two Peas in a Plot, our little corner of the internet where we talk all things books.
We read across genres and love everything from underrated gems to longtime favorites.
And just a quick heads up while we try to avoid spoilers, we do talk about what we liked or didn't. So there might be a few light spoilers along the way just to give you some context.
So if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot. Hi, this is Lisa. Good morning, and I've got my daughter Shada with me today to talk about a book I read last week called Deadly Scandal. It's the Deadly series by Kate Parker. This is one of my genres and subject matters that's one of my favorites, or had been in the past. I just want to go over a few details of the book itself, and before I go into that, Shada, do you want to say good morning to everyone?
Yes, good morning or whatever time it is that you're listening to us. Um, and I did want to ask you just real quick, you said this is one of your favorite genres. What is that?
It's actually, I was trying to look it up and it says it's like a historical mystery novel, but I think and it says it blends elements of espionage and classy, cozy mystery.
That sounds
So
really
it's
cute.
kind of a cozy, it's historical, and it's a mystery, which I love mysteries. So here we go. This was copyrighted in 2016, and the reason why I refer to that is a lot of more books in this series has come out than what was printed inside the book. Right now, it's showing in my book that it only has five in the series, but I think she's made 12 with the latest installment coming out in December of 2024. So I'm excited to continue the series. I can say that after I finished it, I was a little down in the dumps just because of the subject matter a little bit. And so I just did a light read after this, and that's usually a quick cure for me to get over any feelings I may have of sadness of the book. So basically, this is pre-World War II in Europe. I think they're in London, set in the 1930s, the late 1930s. And it starts out right away that the main character is Olivia Denis, I believe, and she's trying to figure out the death of her husband, which everyone's saying it was a suicide. But right away, she's saying, no, it's not because of the way he was killed with his right hand. If he was going to kill himself, he would have used his left hand. And I'll kind of leave that in the book for you to discover why she knows that for a fact. And as the book goes on, you can tell people are following her. She's trying to figure out who murdered her husband. And I want to say he worked for the government. And she just can't figure out why someone would have murdered him um, in the area that he works in, I guess, because he never brought any of his work home and talked about it that much. So it's basically her trying to figure out who murdered her husband. She meets a lot of work friends along the way and goes to events to figure out who knows what. And of course, more and more people follow her. She gets involved with a German, um, I want to say it's the embassy. So basically, some of the interesting facts of the book to me are that maybe not facts of the way it's written, is that Olivia Denis I like these kind of characters who the female is intelligent, they're independent, they're determined. And back in the 1930s, the late 1930s, she goes against societal expectations. that are required when she's in mourning. You know, she shouldn't go out. She should leave her flat, give it up, and to go live with her dad, who's not very well off. So you really can't, and they don't get along very well. So to stay in her flat, she gets a job as a society reporter, which she goes to different events, which is going to help her uncover the murderer of her husband. But also and she's not very good at typing or being a reporter, but the editor or her friend's dad, I believe, owns the newspaper or is the editor of the place where she's going to go work, and he requires her to do some sleuthing for him actually, and his family on the Germans. So she says it's a win-win deal because she's not good at her job, and but she can keep it as long as she does these things for her friend's father, who she's working for. So again, the novel is set in pre-war London, which adds an undercurrent of tension and political intrigue, which I like. That's kind of where I started back in the books that I really started to enjoy reading. And it talks about how Germany is changing, and some people in London aren't quite believing that war would break out, but some people believe it and some people don't. So basically, for me, what I enjoyed about it, it's a blend of mystery and espionage, which is my favorite reading. And I think it gives an appeal to anyone who loves mystery and historical fiction. Um, the author is very good at historical detail. So you feel the fashion come through on her society writing for the newspaper, and she comes up with these great reasons to go to like this ball at the German embassy, I believe, to talk about the women's what they're wearing at the ball. And I don't know that my daughter would want to read this, but she knows this is something that I would enjoy. I think I've been looking at this book online and decided to pick it up, and so glad I did. And just a brief description of the back of the book, which explains it a lot better than I do. It says, two deaths in the London diplomatic corps lead a determined woman seeking justice into the crosshairs of a Nazi spy. Autumn 1937, Olivia Denis is the carefree young wife of a Foreign Office dignitary. When her world is shattered, police discover her husband fatally shot near the German embassy and declare it suicide. Olivia knows better. When she learns a German embassy clerk was murdered the same night, she is certain her husband is not the traitor others claim. However, someone in the British government is. Using her new position as a reporter for a powerful newspaper publisher, Olivia infiltrates London's elegant society to hunt for the killer. But someone watching Olivia is ready to strike if she gets too close to the biggest secret of all. Can Olivia survive her search for the truth? And yeah, you don't know the secret until almost the very end, but she meets, I want to say he's not CIA because that would be in America, but I think he's more like MI16 or something British undercover. But he watches out for her, and then a relationship kind of strikes up. And you find out more of her husband and how his secrets, I should just say that his secrets are. So that's my review of the book. Short and sweet. I hope that intrigued someone to pick the book up. But I will be continuing with the series. But like I said, for me, I guess I had forgotten, I guess because of the death and the suicide, but it really wasn't. And just the stress of someone following her kind of wore me out, and I had to read something light after this. But it was really, really good. So I also wanted to bring up some of other series. If this isn't a series for you, this is her. the series that I'm interested in is the Deadly series, and I've explained that. She has another series called the Victorian Bookshop Mysteries, and it centers on Georgia Fenchurch, a bookseller and member of a secret detective society in Victoria, London, which I might have to pick some of those up. And then I see that there's a third series called the Milliner series. I'm sorry, the Milliner Mysteries, and it features a Emily Gates, a milliner in Edwardian London, who finds herself solving crimes amidst high society. So hopefully you'll find something within those groups of book series that you might like to pick up and read.
Okay, well, we're going to switch gears for a little bit because now I have a bunch of questions
Okay.
about the books and about kind of well, first of all, I have to say the Milliner series sounds really fun because a milliner is that's a hatter, but specifically a hatter that makes hats for women, right?
Right. I think
That's what a
so.
milliner is,
Yeah.
which I love that kind of, if she's, like you said, really good with historical details,
Yes.
I'm one of those weirdos who likes to do a deep dive into like very niche jobs. So I think that that would be right up my alley to read something like that. But uh, you did say you weren't sure if this is something the Deadly series is something that I would like. Honestly, I think it sounds like something I would like because
Oh.
I also love, well, I know it's a very different genre, but like Game of Thrones is all politics. Like until you get to
Mm-hmm.
the later episodes, but it's like rooted in, I know it's not historical, it's fantasy, but George R. R. Martin based that on War of the Roses, which was like right before the Tudor dynasty, so like late Middle Ages, early Renaissance England. So still very historical, very,
Mm-hmm.
very political. And I also think it's really interesting that it sounds like, so you said this takes place in the late 30s, like right on the eve of World War II. And I think that's really interesting too in terms of like what was everyone thinking at the time? And I like that you mentioned some people are like, "Oh, it's not going to happen." And some people are like, "No, it's going to happen." Because World War I was the Great War, was the war to end all wars, and yet
Mm-hmm.
here you are 15, 20 years later, and there's another one about to start. So I think just getting really into people's mindsets because I know it's kind of crazy thinking like when I was born, World War II had only ended like 45 years before. I mean, it was still very, very prevalent in living memory. And now we're kind of getting to the point where not a lot of people remember actually
Right.
living through it, but it's still so close to living memory. I think that's a really interesting time period and um not to get too like current events, but I mean there are some scary things going on now and seeing how people dealt with it back then. I know she's not writing as a contemporary of that time period, but I'm sure since she's done a lot of research, I don't know, it seems like a very exciting, volatile time to read about. So I think that dovetails into what I'm interested in reading as well. So and the level of personal mystery, like, oh, her husband couldn't have killed himself, so
Mm-hmm.
and then someone following her. It sounds like a perfect storm of like big scale, like global event things, and also really high personal stakes. So I think I would like to read this. Um,
I have to bring up, you brought up something that made me think of a scene. I think there were a couple of scenes, and it reminds me of I don't know, I don't want to say Alfred Hitchcock, but an old black and white movie where there's fog and she can see three guys following her with their collars up on their necks. They've got their hats low down, probably to because of the fog, but it's not. It's people, it's guys following her. We don't know if they're German spies or it's someone from her husband's office or it's this I don't know what you call him. MI16,
I think it's MI6.
MI16. I'm making up a number here.
But
It,
yeah,
you don't know what it's just that. it gives you the atmosphere and it just makes it really special to me. I'm there. I'm walking the street with her and I would just want to pull her into a store and lock it or hurry up, let's run to the apartment and get
Yeah,
back into our flat.
that sounds so exciting. And also, this is a huge tangent that we probably don't need to have in this episode, but um, we are both, I don't know, Mom, if you're as into like you used to be the true crime podcasts, but I know you have been very interested in
Yes.
them. And there was I can't remember what podcast, or maybe it was someone on YouTube who does like podcast style videos, but I listened to, it might have been a single episode with two parts, or it might have been two different parts. But during the Blitz, so I know this is after, this is like once the war has started, so this is kind of after the scope of the this novel. But during the Blitz, when there were blackouts, like mandatory blackouts,
Hmm.
there was a serial killer going after women, taking advantage of the blackouts to stalk and murder women in
Oh,
London.
oh my
And
gosh.
then the same thing in Germany. I don't know that Germany had blackouts to the extent that England did,
Hmm.
but there was a similar serial killer in this one particular village. I think they also had curfews and he would prey on women. So it's just, so that kind
Wow.
of like what you're describing, I mean, that seems more like it's someone in the government. It's some like spy organization or like Big Brother's watching you. So it's not serial killers, but it reminded
Right.
me of like
Wow, I
but
didn't
just
know
the,
that.
yeah, it was really fascinating. I'll see if I can find it. And
Yeah.
if I can find it, maybe we'll, I don't know the extent that we're going to have show notes, but if I can find it, we'll drop it in the YouTube description. Or if you're
Yeah.
listening to this on another platform, we can drop it in whatever system they have for that. But yeah, it was really interesting. And I know, again, that's kind of far afield from the book, but it reminded me of, I mean, that's a scary time. Like,
Yeah.
right on the eve of war, you don't know who's friendly or who's an enemy. And then you have all these other just like kind of wild card dangers to be aware of. So,
It
yeah.
is interesting. One of the society, I don't want to call them balls. That's what all I'm thinking of, but these extravagant extravagant get-togethers, there are German sympathizers and some who are not, but they all work for the government. So everybody's suspicious of one another. But at the end, well, I can't say the end, but it's pretty intriguing because I haven't focused on this part so much, and especially in England. I mean, yeah, a lot of books I read dealt with England and what they went through. I don't want to go through all those books because we may bring them up later, but haven't dealt with a book that deals before World War II hits so much and gives you that atmosphere of what was going on. I mean, like you said, they just went through World War One, and no one's gonna believe that there's gonna be another World War II, and especially from, I guess, Germany. And I guess Hitler is out there, and they know about him. But anyway, there are suspicions, and it's just interesting. All altogether interesting is all I can say. I can't formulate the words I want to say about it, but I really liked the book. It was good.
Yeah. And I think, shoot, I think I'm gonna have to add this to my two. Oh, you have it. I can borrow it from you.
Yeah, you can have it. Yeah, I have the
Yeah.
book actually. Usually I
Like
haven't
the,
been buying books, I've been buying the ebooks, but lately I've been wanting to read. Not, I don't want to be so much on the computer, and I wanted the physical book.
yeah,
So,
and that makes borrowing nice and
yeah.
easy. All right. Well, I think that might be everything we want to talk about. And thank you for letting me kind of go all over the place. But this book brought up a lot of questions and thoughts, and it was fun to chat
Yeah.
about.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed listening to it or listening to me talk about it. And I hope someone out there wants to pick up the book and let us know how you liked it. And I think that's all for today.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.